Charles Oliveira out of the favelas in Brazil.
Charles Oliveira!
Knockdown to Oliveira.
This dude right here,
Who
man.
can stop Charles Oliveira?
This dude right here, man.
Absolutely tremendous performance.
Dude is a savage.
Unbelievable.
He must hit so hard. He must hit so hard.
And another. He gets Charles Oliveira.
One of the best lightweights to ever do it.
I'd like to start with Max Holloway. Max, this is a rematch, but that first fight was a long time ago. But now you're getting close to this rematch. Are you starting to see this as unfinished business?
Nah, man. That fight was so long time ago. Even he said it, you know, before he was just a jiu-jitsu guy, now he's an MMA guy, so I guess we get to find out Saturday night.
You said the most BMF thing you could do this weekend is sub the submission artist, but is that actually part of the game plan, or are you just kind of seeing what comes your way in there?
Never say never. Never say never. Tune in tomorrow night, or Saturday night.
If you could say there's one thing about Charles that makes him a BMF, what is it? What is the most BMF thing about Charles?
Dude's a legend, man. Dude's a legend. He's fighting. A lot of people are making this fight to be a striker versus grappler match. A lot of his subs, before he's submission guys, he's killing these guys on the feet, striking them, hurting them. So he's a BMF, man, in my eyes. So I can't wait to see him.
For Charles, and for Max as well. We know that this is an era of promoting your fights, selling your fights, and everything else. And you two became legends without, saying things to other people, saying bad things, selling the fight for what it is. What is your advice to people? How would you say? How did you manage to get to this point without selling the fights like that?
Cara, na realidade o nosso MMA é algo novo, né? E pegar dois caras, duas grandes lendas como nós dois, que venderam a luta sempre mostrando respeito, carinho com o próximo. Isso é algo gigante, não é criança, é adulto. Os meus filhos estão sentados ali, tipo, eu quero mostrar para eles que os pais dele é uma pessoa do bem. É isso que a gente tem que mostrar. Aquilo que a gente faz aqui dentro é aquilo que eles estão vendo. Se a gente faz coisas ruins, com certeza eles vão ver e vão querer fazer coisas ruins. Aqui, de verdade, tem dois caras que merecem lutar por esse título, pelo aquilo que a gente é, por aquilo que a gente representa, não aqueles caras que pegam o microfone para falar um monte de besteira.
This is new. Two guys that have managed to get to this position by being respectful with each other, by being respectful to other people. We sell fights by fighting, by the things that we do inside the octagon and outside the octagon. There are kids. Every time we're doing things, he's the father himself, a family man. My kids are here. There are always kids watching. The good things that you do, kids will follow. The bad things that you do and say, kids will follow as well.
So you see what I mean? It's like his teeth get blunt really quickly in the fight, whereas Max Holloway just kind of slowly sharpens his teeth as the fight goes on. I think Holloway by stoppage. I think a TKO, and I don't think it's going to be because Charles Oliveira is actually beaten up. I just think he's just done. He's not going to win the fight. He maybe won the first round by 10-8, but it's been downhill since then.
Yeah.
It is true.
So I'll say this: if Max, this is not going to happen, but if Max were to submit him, that would be kind of interesting. That would be kind of novel.
At least Max and Ilya was like a fun competitive fight before.
For sure.
There is no reason to do Ilya Charles again, just none.
Yeah.
So if Charles wins, then no. But if Max wins, I'd still say it's lower than 50%, but it's not a 0% chance that he is fighting for a title.
I think Max Blessed get it done. Max Blessed is so good at winning these 5-round fights. He's so good at staying busy from the outside. He's so good at pacing himself for 5 rounds. His fight IQ is so good when he hurts people. He doesn't throw all his chips in. Max Blessed gets it done by decision.
The fight between Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira is a special one. These are two former champions who are finishers and have worked hard to achieve what they have in their careers so far. One man comes forward with good punches and clean boxing, while the other man comes forward with pressure and real danger on the ground. However, this time they are both trying to prove who deserves to win when everything is on the line.
He's not beating Holloway striking. I don't think so. I mean, he can punch. He can catch Holloway going back maybe with a beautiful left hook. Oliveira does that well. Holloway does go back sometimes straight. They both do that. You can catch them. But on the whole, I I like Holloway in the striking department if it's a striking match. I think Oliveira's best shot is, even though Holloway's good on the floor, good on the mat, you know, he's a great takedown defense, the whole thing. I mean, he's a rounded fighter, but he's a great striker. Oliveira's best shot is to get a submission, I believe, on the mat. That's his best. I mean, he is the submission king for a reason, but it won't be easy against Holloway.
I think a lot of people just talk a lot of stuff. It'd be easy. Just say, that's it. Just, you know, he's riding a Ferrari. That's it. That life just happens like that. No, listen, it's tough. Things are tough and it's difficult to do. I'm an MMA fighter, and I'm here to fight MMA.
When breaking down the styles, Dan Hardy said that Oliveira is a fast starter who explodes early and takes risks because he trusts his grappling. But Holloway is the exact opposite. His output and accuracy rise as the fight goes on. He was clear that Holloway should not get drawn into grappling exchanges early. Even landing on top could be risky in the first few minutes because Oliveira has too many tricks when he is fresh.
And I noticed that his output increases over the rounds and his accuracy increases. So he throws more and he lands more of the shots that he throws. And I'm just looking at this. So Max Holloway's average fight time, 16:23. That's a veteran 5-round fighter. Charles Oliveira, with all of the 5-round fights that he's had, is 7:30. And that to me shows me how the fight's going to go. Like, Holloway just needs to allow Oliveira to get the first sort of 7 minutes out of his system, because he always does stupid things and he always throws himself at his opponent in some particular way, mainly because he doesn't care where he lands on the floor. I absolutely think it would be a terrible idea for Max Holloway to entertain any kind of grappling, because I think even landing in top position, Oliveira has got enough tricks in his game in the early fight to be able to sweep and put him in top position. But once it hits the 7 or 8 minute mark and Max Holloway's now started to warm up and he's starting to pick his pace up, like 3, 4, and 5, a finish could come at any point in those rounds, way easier than it could in the first or second.
He believes that Max performs better when he is light too. Cuts in weight have not helped him in the past. Hardy believes that Holloway does not require additional conditioning work because of hard cuts, because he already has elite cardio abilities. By moving to 155, Holloway gets better training, more energy, and more clarity in his mind in technical sessions, as opposed to wasting energy to cut weight.
In actuality, if you're someone like Max Holloway, who's just got incredible conditioning anyway, doing additional conditioning to get to 155 is just wasting your time. Like, what Max Holloway needs now is brain power and attention in his technical sessions, which he's going to get way more of by having more calories and less time having to be on the treadmill and draining himself. Like,
makes a big difference.
Yeah, this is going to be it's going to be a much better version of Max Holloway.
Bedtime MMA is picking Max Holloway to win, and he made that clear when talking about the last 2 spots on his bingo card. He believes both guys will have moments early, especially with Charles coming out aggressively. He expects Charles Oliveira to have early success. In his view, Charles is dangerous in the first part of the fight, and he would not be surprised if Max gets clipped with something sharp, like a straight right. At the same time, he also thinks Charles is likely to get dropped.
Come on, you knew this was coming, dude. You fucking knew this fence sit was coming. I'm picking Max Holloway. I'm dropping my full card predictions this week in my next video. I do think there will be a moment where Max Holloway gets rocked with like a straight right from Charles Oliveira. And I also think Max Holloway is either going to knock down Charles Oliveira multiple times or KO him. So I'm going to say Max and Charles have a high likelihood of rocking each other, especially early on when Charles is super aggressive. As the fight goes on, I think Max will take over, be more accurate, cause more damage, land bigger shots, and eventually finish Charles Oliveira or win by decision. But I think that one's a very solid prediction.
James Lynch is not switching up his pick. He is sticking with Max Holloway to win this fight, and he made it clear that nothing has changed from his full preview. He pointed at the betting odds, the age difference, and the physical stats, but the main thing for him is how Max has looked lately. The win over Dustin Poirier for the BMF belt showed him that Max at lightweight is not slowing down. He thinks this version of Holloway is stronger, cuts less weight, and is simply harder to deal with at 155.
Okay, main event, Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira. If you guys have been paying attention to this channel, I've already broken this fight down. I'll just show you guys here real quick. It is right here. Full preview, 13 minutes, 14 minutes around there. I gave you my pick for that one. The pick's not going to change here, but I'll just go through it anyways. Minus 200 for Holloway, plus 160 for Oliveira, 34 to 36, 5'11 to 5'10, 69 to 74. Oliveira going to be longer. Holloway an inch taller. Oliveira 2 years older. Holloway, great win in his last fight over Dustin Poirier. That's what got him the BMF belt. Looked great. Did lose to Poirier, but Poirier is knocking out everyone. Also beat Justin Gaethje, which is a win that has aged quite well too. So I think Holloway at 155 is a different animal. Doesn't cut as much weight. Tough to finish, right?
When it comes to skill for skill, he admitted Oliveira probably has more raw power and is always dangerous, especially after finishing Matos Gamrot in his last fight. But he keeps coming back to the damage factor. Oliveira has been in a lot of wars and has absorbed a lot over the years. Lynch compared the striking defense numbers and pointed out that Max is harder to hit clean. That gap in defense plus Max's high output is why he sees the fight leaning one way over time.
Again, tough to finish, period. Just 2 stoppage losses in his entire career. And I think with Oliveira, he's kind of used to having that, where he's fighting guys that he is used to finishing, right? Finished Gamrot in his last fight, very good win. Now, saying that, Gamrot, I don't think had been finished prior to that, and he ends up getting it done in the second round there. Looked good.
Jed Meshew is leaning clearly toward Max Holloway. He does not think Charles Oliveira is washed, especially after how Oliveira handled Matos Gamrot. But he keeps coming back to what Holloway looks like at lightweight. In his view, the move up has helped Max. He sees more power in his shots and a fresher version of him at 155. He also points to Charles's history of stoppage losses and questions his durability in a fight where he will be getting hit a lot. For Jed, that mix of Max's pace plus added power is a real problem for Oliveira.
I think Max Holloway is about to beat the soul out of Charles Oliveira.
You think so? You think that Oliveira's washed?
I don't think he's washed because like I was genuinely super concerned about the Gamrot fight. Like it was a real quick turnaround from getting colded by Ilya, and he just put the lumber to Matoush. Like that was super impressive. And like the biggest takeaway I have for this whole fight is, goddamn, these dudes are awesome. Because like Chuck said, man, like I have been burying Max Holloway for years because he is doing something that we never see. He has been fighting at the top level for well over a decade, and you usually start to see people declining. And I do think Max is declining a little bit, but I think this move up to lightweight is huge for him. I think it has helped him. Like he has more power, just straight up. Like he drops Dustin Poirier in their third fight in the first round, and I'm genuinely like interested to see his lightweight run to a point where I would pick Ilya Topuria to beat him if they end up running it back. But at 155, if he gets this win, like maybe I'm more interested in seeing that, because Max with power, which he never really had at featherweight, it was an accumulation of damage.
Chuck Mindenhall is also favoring Max, but his angle is more about rhythm and timing. He talks about how Holloway builds momentum once he settles in. When Max finds his range, he starts piling up strikes and making reads in real time. Chuck feels that version of Holloway is very hard to stop. He also hinted that if one of them is slipping faster, it looks more like Oliveira. The way Charles absorbs shots worries him in a matchup where he will not get many breaks.
Yeah, I'm favoring Max too. Like, I just think that he's one of those guys, like, it's like a muscle memory type thing. Once he starts getting into a rhythm, like you just see him get into a rhythm, and like we saw that with the Justin Gaethje fight. And I feel like he'll find that with him. You know, I just feel like he's going to find it, and he's so good when he starts to do it. You know, you've talked about this. He makes adjustments. He's so good when he starts to really get his timing and his and you know, and like you said, he's carrying more power. I envision a scenario where he's finding that stuff, and that's very hard to overcome. I do think if you're looking at which guy might be declining at a rapid, you know, whatever rate, I would say that to me, Oliveira hasn't looked as good. Maybe you have a different opinion of that, but I think Oliveira looks a little bit like he's slipping at a faster rate than Max is at this point.
He gets hit a lot.
Jed and Luke Thomas see Holloway as someone who keeps proving people wrong, even after long stretches at the top. Jed brought up how many times Max has already been counted out and still delivered huge performances. At the same time, he does not see this as an automatic title eliminator. If Max wins, he thinks there is at least a path to something big, depending on what happens with the belt at lightweight. If Oliveira wins, he feels the road back to a title is much tougher.
It is true.
So I'll say this: if Max, this is not going to happen, but if Max were to submit him, that would be kind of interesting. That would be kind of novel.
At least Max and Ilya was like a fun competitive fight
Yes,
before.
for sure.
There is no reason to do Ilya Charles again, just none.
Yeah.
So if Charles wins, then no. But if Max wins, I'd still say it's lower than 50%, but it's not a 0% chance that he is fighting for a title.
Tim Welch looks at this fight as a real veteran matchup. He talks about how long Charles Oliveira has been in the UFC and how dangerous his jiu-jitsu still is, especially off his back. He makes it clear that Oliveira is always a threat on the ground and has one of the best guards in the sport. When he breaks down Max Holloway, the main thing he keeps coming back to is how smart Max fights over 5 rounds. He talks about Max staying busy on the outside, controlling distance, and knowing when to push and when to hold back. He points out that Max does not empty the tank when he hurts someone. Charles Oliveira sees this rematch as something completely different. In his mind, it is no longer 2 young prospects, it is 2 established names that kept improving over time. Charles thinks that a lot of people keep saying he needs to take Max down, but he does not buy into that simple breakdown. He reminds people that he is an MMA fighter, not just a jiu-jitsu guy. He knows his hands have carried him in big fights before. The way he speaks about it, he sounds confident that he can compete everywhere, not just on the mat. Teddy Atlas believes the manner in which the first fight ended is still affecting Oliveira. Of course, Charles has had an excellent career since the first bout, but Teddy still thinks the manner in which Oliveira lost the first time is not something any proud man forgets. It's not about titles or winning, it's about pride. And he thinks Oliveira has an added incentive because of the manner in which the first bout ended before the second one even began. However, as Teddy broke it down, one thing is certain, and it's that Oliveira is going to win against Holloway in a striking contest. Charles can punch and can potentially catch something sharp, especially if Max backs up. But overall, Charles likes Max on his feet. He says Holloway is cleaner, more consistent, and more reliable if it is a standing fight. So in a striking contest, Teddy is with Max without any hesitation. This is one of those fights that really comes down to who can force their kind of fight. If Charles can create scrambles and find a neck in transition, he can change everything in a second. But if Max keeps it standing, controls the pace, and stays sharp with his movement in boxing, it starts to look like a long night for Charles. Both guys have paths to win, and that is what makes this matchup so interesting. It is skill against skill, pressure against control. Now we want to hear from you. Who are you picking, and how do you see it playing out? Let us know in the comments below.